Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is tire. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear tire used is to mean to cause, to feel, or to cause to feel in need of rest or sleep. In some of my classes before, this word has appeared in a story or passage, and I've had people ask, like, wait, this can be a verb? Sure. Most people are familiar with the adjective tired, and we'll talk about that later, but it very much connects to this first definition. So, someone or something can cause another person to feel that they need rest or sleep. A second way you'll hear tire used is to mean to lose interest in something. This verb comes up sometimes as we talk about and sort of analyze media coverage. Something might be in the news a lot, but people tire or lose interest in a particular story. And sometimes that's really sad and terrible because the problem continues on for an incredibly long time. A third way you'll hear tire used is to mean to become impatient with someone or something. I've heard this verb used before with supervisors talking about an employee who's not meeting expectations, who's not showing up on time, who's doing lots of things wrong or negatively impacting the environment, the team or the company. And people will say, we're tiring of this person, right? I'm impatient. They need to produce or they need to leave. You should know that tire is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, you need to drop the E and then add ing to form tiring. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding D, since this verb already ends in an E. Our base verb, tire, ends in a voiced R sound. So our past tense ending is going to make a D sound, and we don't add an extra syllable as we say it. So it should sound like this: tired, tired. Now, there are a couple phrasal verbs that you will hear with our verb tire. They very much connect to the definitions we've discussed, but I thought it was good to have a few more examples here. So, the first phrasal verb you'll hear is tire of. Again, this connects to losing interest, losing one's patience in someone or something. An example of this could be the children tired of the toys and started playing with the boxes. This particular scenario, I think, has happened with many parents. They're very excited to give particular toys on a holiday or birthday, and the children kind of lose interest and they're more interested in playing with the packaging, the boxes, etc. A second phrasal verb you might hear is tire out. This connects back to our first definition. So someone is being exhausted, they are being depleted of energy. An example of this: did working out this morning tire you out? Right? Did it exhaust you? Now, let's continue using our verb of the day, tire, in a couple different verb tenses. Today, we're going to practice the simple present and the simple future using will. Let's start with the simple present. We use this verb tense to talk about our habits and routines. We also use it to talk about facts. We really need to pay attention when we're making simple present sentences because our subject is going to impact how we form the verb. In the affirmative, if our subject is I, you, we, or they, I'm just going to use the base verb. You can see that in my example. Zoom classes tire me out. So here, classes is plural. It's like saying they. So that's why I'm using the base verb. Now, if my subject happened to be he, she, or it, then I need to add an S to the end of that verb. So if I was just talking about one class, I would say that class tires me out. Okay. Now, if we want to make a negative sentence, again, we need to pay attention to our subject. If our subject is I, you, we, or they, we're going to use do, not, and then the base verb. You can see that here. They don't tire of volunteering their time or their talents. Okay, so we're speaking about a group of people here who do not lose interest, who do not become impatient when they're volunteering. They just kind of give, give, give. Okay. Now, if my subject, maybe I was talking about one person, she, my structure would be does not, and then the base verb. So notice I'm not adding an S there as I make that sentence. Finally, let's look at making yes or no questions in the simple present. To do this, we're going to start with do or does, whichever form matches our subject. Subject comes next, and then we use that base verb. An example, do these meetings tire you out? Okay. So I always like to point out to students, notice the only time I'm adding an S to the end of that base verb is in the affirmative when my subject is singular, he, she, or it. Okay. Now let's take a look at the simple future. Many times we will use will in the simple future to talk about promises or to make predictions. And the nice thing about this form of the simple future is that it's going to be the same no matter what our subject is. Okay? So in the affirmative, all we're going to do is have our subject, then will, and then the base verb. You can see that in the example. These activities will tire out your kids and they will take great naps afterwards. I saw a sentence kind of similar to this, advertising an activity for preschool age children in the summer. Um, and I think they were speaking to the parents of like, your kids have lots of energy. This will exhaust them. This will deplete their energy, and you'll have a few peaceful hours as they nap later that day. Now, if you want to make a negative simple future sentence, our structure is going to be subject, will not, and then the base verb. You might hear the contraction won't used, and that's in my example here. You won't tire of these styles. They're classics. I saw a sentence very similar to this in an advertisement. So it was encouraging people to come shop at a particular store, a clothing store, and saying, you're not going to lose interest. You're not going to wear this once and think, I don't want to wear it again. Now, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple future, our structure will be to start with will, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Here's another example. Will Western leaders tire of Ukraine's requests for money and weapons? Again, as I was reading this week, I saw this question posed in an article. Unfortunately, I think sometimes our attention spans can be rather short. And I know there was a lot of focus, a lot of interest in what has been going on in Ukraine for months now. But some people feel like, people aren't following it as much, and there are still huge problems for the people of Ukraine as they defend their country and their way of life, really. So hopefully we will not tire of this. That is my hope or my wish for the simple future. Now let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb tire. Another question I hear from students when they see this word used as a verb is, wait a second, I know this is a noun. I have tires on my car, right? So yes, the same spelling, same pronunciation, the noun tire refers to a rubber covering. Generally, it's been inflated and kind of a tube, and it's placed around a wheel. This is I've never been a car person, so I think my explanation of what a tire is probably not great. So I've included a picture down here for us all to look at and understand. Yes, I know what a tire is. So an example of this in a sentence might be, do you know how to change a tire? The next word we're going to look at today is the adjective tired. I mentioned this earlier as being a word that many people know. I think we've all experienced this feeling. It can have a couple different meanings. Many times as we use it, we are referring to someone or maybe ourselves who are in need of sleep or rest. An example of this in a sentence might be, he felt extremely tired after working until 3 a.m. A second way you'll hear the adjective tired used is to describe something as being boring or uninteresting because of overuse. An example of this in a sentence might be, that's a tired stereotype. Stereotypes are generally kind of negative and hurtful to people. And there are certain ones, they've been said and used again and again. And so this is boring. This is uninteresting. It's not very original. A third way you'll hear tired used is just to describe being bored with something. An example of this, he got tired of watching the children's performances. Maybe this is a family friend who doesn't have children, who's kind of like, ugh, I'm not really interested in this, but they're trying to be supportive. The last word we're going to look at today is the adjective tiring. Anytime we have an adjective ending in ing, it means that we're causing that feeling. We're causing that feeling of being tired, of needing to rest or sleep. So, an example of how you might hear that used, those classes are so tiring. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.